So I'm going to choose to lean into enchanted and harmonious, regardless of the amount of weight that I'm carrying on my shoulders with some stuff going on. And I'm going to choose. I'm going to courageously choose to move forward in that positive aspect.
Hey everyone, it's Amy Lynn Durham, and you're listening to Create Magic at Work. Create Magic at Work is on a mission to equip senior leaders with tools they need to be a true quantum leader and actually understand what that means. Improve employee engagement, retain top talent, and transform your workplace culture to have less drama and stress. So let's start making magic.
Card 22, Enchanted. You gaze into a place that makes you smile as your soul yearns for new. Wow, this is such a beautiful card. And I took this in the Camino de Santiago in Spain just last October. And this was at a beautiful castle that was over 300 years old. And when we walked into the garden and I saw that gate open, I mysteriously wanted to walk up that stairway full of moss, and I'm not even sure where it was leading. What a beautiful picture.
Oh, everyone, you just heard from returning guest Traycee Mayer. She just pulled a card from her new The Leader Paths Oracle deck, and I already have the chills. She pulled a card I asked her to just right away give a card for all of us listening, and the card that she pulled for all of us is Enchanted. We have to share this on a YouTube short so you can see how beautiful the artwork is in the card for Enchanted, and I really needed to hear that message today. Oh, a lot, because this summer has felt thick. I don't know, like thick energy, heavy. And Traycee, read what Enchanted said one more time for us.
Okay, absolutely. I needed to hear this today too. It's card number 22, Enchanted. You gaze into a place that makes you smile as your soul yearns for new.
You gaze into a place that makes you smile as your soul yearns for new. I think we all needed that message today more than I knew. Thank you for coming back to Create Magic at Work, Traycee, and welcome. For those of you listening, if you're a longtime listener of the show, Traycee has been on a couple of times. She's an amazing executive coach that partners with Create Magic at Work. We do a lot of client coaching together. She's an incredible leader. She worked in the hospitality industry for many, many years. She published a book called The Leadership Contradiction, which it's one of my favorite leadership books because it really calls out the contradictions that we face as leaders in the workplace. And it's, I can't even believe I'm going to say this, but it's interesting. The leadership contradiction is that I'm talking about right now, because as we're recording this, all over our social media right now is that Coldplay concert scandal with, the alleged affair with that CEO of that large company, and talk about a leadership contradiction there, something that we see. I mean, I was so into it just because I have been we've all been there. We've all not been there, but we've all been in that space where we know, oh gosh, the ongoings of the expenses and behind the scenes and the hangouts and the scandals that can happen when we travel and work. And maybe we should do a whole other episode on that. But today is a special edition on the Leader Paths Oracle deck. So, Traycee, if you don't mind, I would love to share my perspective of how this deck was born, and then you can walk us through some of the different things in the deck. But Traycee and I have been colleagues for a really long time. And I happen to have a inspirational card deck that has doors as sort of the graphics or the illustrations on the cards. And Traycee, for a really long time, has always loved paths. And on the cover of her book, there's a path, and she has thousands of photos of paths from her travel and her different journeys all over the world. And we were just sitting one day and it was like, oh my gosh, make a deck with your paths. Because I was thinking of this other deck that has these doors that open to different things. And all of a sudden, Traycee, you just created this incredible deck called the Leader Paths, excuse me. And I can't believe how quickly, I mean, it was like it came about in an insane amount of time. It was like meant to be born. So, yeah, just tell us a little bit about the deck. Tell us about what your goal is for leaders in the workplace if they buy this card deck. Like, this is kind of innovative anyway for like a senior leader or a manager to be like, oh, let me buy the Leader Paths Oracle deck. So let's talk to everyone a little bit about that.
All right. Well, wonderful. First of all, thank you for having me as a guest again. And it's such an honor, first of all. And secondly, it's really thrilling to have a host who knows me so well, as I've done so many podcasts. But this is my favorite, of course, of all time, to be able to sit and talk with you and have you know so much about me in the background. You may remember, even before we talked about the Oracle deck and the doors and the paths and such, I had long dreamed that this would be a coffee table book and I would write inspirational quotes or that sort of thing, using the decks using the paths, because I started taking photographs of pathways about 17 years ago. So even people have sent me pictures of pathways when they travel. In fact, I just got some last week from a coachee who was in Ireland, and he sent me some pathways. And so that was super fun. But all of the pictures in my new Leader Paths Oracle deck are all my very own. So they're all copy written. They're all pictures that I took. So yeah, they were slowly and then suddenly born. I think that I was holding on to them for a long time for the right time, and began, through the process of you and I knowing about other decks and talking about it. And I think that the real, I guess, pivot point was when I went to Spain last year and I walked on the Camino. So there are a good probably 7 or 10 photographs. I've never really counted, but from the Camino. And obviously the whole thing is a path. It's, a couple of weeks of walking pathways and having spiritual experiences inside me, sometimes with complete strangers and other times completely by myself in the countryside of Spain, very much by myself. But yes, I did one other hike in northern Wisconsin when I got back, which is where the colors were turning. The leaves were just incredible. And I just had this intuition that it was time. And yes, it just kind of came out of the clouds, out of the universe, and started printing pictures. And I had them all over the floor in my office. And I just started writing kind of titles for what the pathways would be, which actually had kind of started maybe a year before then, of different things. And some of that did come out of my book as well, because there was a very intuitive moment in the first chapter of my book where I was stopped from going any further on a path I was walking. And so that was kind of the generation of the book as well. So I decided to make the deck 75 pictures. There's another 3 pictures actually that explain more of some ways to use the deck and kind of the origin. But it's all things that show a place and a path and a time during the last 17 years where my heart and my soul were stopped for a moment. And there was a feeling and an experience that happened at that moment. So I wanted the people that I coach, the leaders, which I've had the wonderful pleasure of doing, of drawing cards for them and telling them about what I was experiencing at that time. And they're so profound, and the coaches are so taken aback by what I'm sharing at that moment. So I'm hoping that more people will grab this deck, will come on board with me. I'm planning a special complimentary engagement in the next couple of months where I can just talk with people who have seen the deck, and we can talk about where I was and what I was thinking and what that card means to them.
Yeah. And I think it's really innovative because there's lots of decks out there, right? This one is definitely blending as an edge walker, spirituality and leadership. At least this is my take on it. This is what I get from it. And the way that I encourage people to use these types of inspirational decks in the workplace is even at team build events where you can have a deck. I mean, I used to take cards like these and I would just dump them all in a bowl and shake them up. And then when people would enter the event, I would have each person close their eyes and pull a card just as they entered the event. And you're right. Like there's something there that we know that the universe just sends the person the message that they needed to hear in that moment for that day or time or whatever. And it's so magical. And it's hard to not partake in it once you experience the chills and the magic of it. So I want to talk a little bit about how you mentioned some of these paths stopped you in your tracks. What was that feeling that came up for you when you captured those pictures? What stopped you in your tracks? Because let me preface this a little bit. I think we all can experience these moments of popping outside of time. And that is sort of what I'm hearing you say when you had these moments that stopped you to take these photos of these paths. So can you just kind of explain that? That's part of spiritual intelligence too. This experience of transcendent oneness.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, one came to mind immediately when you asked me that question. And I was in Southern California hiking a trail called Weir Canyon. It's in Orange County, and it's a 5-mile loop that I've hiked probably for 20 years. And because of the seasons, and yes, there are seasons in California, but just the change in the trail from summer to winter to just different times of year, and then also the people that travel on the trail do change the trail. So I was happening down this trail. It kind of is a splits off the whole loop, and I happened to go down it that day, and I noticed it was after a few months of raining. So the trail had gotten very weak where, you'll have like squirrels and chipmunks burrowing underneath the trail. So there's a lot of soft spots where your feet would kind of sink into the dirt. Well, this particular day I was walking down it, and somebody had come up the trail riding a horse, because horses are allowed on the trail too. It's hiking, mountain biking, and horseback riding. And you could tell that this horse had sunk deeply into this path and almost struggled to get out of it. And you could see the traces of the dirt being thrown out of the hole. Some places, the hoof of the horse had sunk 6 or 8 inches. And so I was really mesmerized, and I stopped to look at these horse tracks and how they had gone so deep into that trail. And it really caused me to stop and think that as I was traveling down, a horse had probably come through there maybe 30 minutes before I had. And there was this experience of struggle with this horse walking up the path. I think what's even more profound is I didn't take a picture at that moment. I continued on, and I walked a little bit further. I probably walked another 100 yards, and there was another kind of fork in the road. And I decided that day I was going to turn around and walk back up that trail. I did that. And when I got back up to where those holes in the path were from the horse going up it, there was suddenly, and I mean suddenly, appeared a horseshoe, a metal horseshoe, and it was sitting in the middle of that group of holes where the horse had walked. Now, I don't mean to sound like, woo, 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 la, 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 whatever to somebody listening, but that wasn't there before when I had passed that way. And I took a picture of it right at that moment because I felt so strongly that that was a message for me that this was the right way that I was going, that something had caused me to stop and look at it, but also turn around and come back and look at it again because I was supposed to see that. And I hadn't seen that horseshoe before. There was some things going on in my personal life. Actually, that was a return trip to Southern California after I had moved across the country. So it was a message to me that there was energy still left in this trail that I had traveled for so many years and telling me that I was on the right path. And, people think of horseshoes as being lucky. I knew I was supposed to have that horseshoe as well. So I picked it up and put it in my backpack. And when I got back to where I live now in Madison, Wisconsin, I cleaned up the horseshoe and it sits downstairs in my kitchen. And it reminds me of the paths that I choose in life. And it reminds me of that card that I pulled, which I believe that I named Lucky for that particular card.
Hey everyone, Amy here. Let's talk about work realities for a second. Whether you're dealing with a tough boss, struggling with team miscommunication, feeling stuck in decision making, let's be real, work drama exists and it's exhausting, but it doesn't have to be this way. At Create Magic at Work, we help leaders like you cut through the chaos, build next level communication skills, and make better, faster decisions without the stress spiral. Whether you're leading a team or just trying to keep your sanity at work, we've got your back. We coach executives and teams like yours to develop interpersonal savvy, drive engagement, and bring your vision and purpose to life so work actually feels energizing again. Imagine that. More engagement, more productivity, less drama. Our executive coaching team has been in your shoes. We've led teams, navigated workplace challenges, and know what it takes to help you succeed and achieve your goals. Real experience, real talk, and real results. If you're thinking, yes, Amy, we need this at my work, then let's talk. Click the link in the show notes and let us help you and your teams become a high-performing, engaged, and productive force of clarity and calm. I'll see you in the Zoom room. Let's throw the stress and drama out the window. Click on the link in the show notes. Okay, so for everyone listening that is like, Create Magic at Work is a workplace type conversation show, this is what I want to say. Pay attention to, or think back to everything that Traycee has said so far. And she's talking about noticing synchronicities and pausing to hear the message that's coming forward. And I think a lot of times in the workplace, we move so quickly that we don't take time to pause and to notice the messages or the synchronicities that are showing up for us. And that's a really important thing because Traycee, as you know, as a fellow Edgewalker facilitator, one of the ways to sense what's coming next is following your intuition. There's 3 different ways. There's collecting data from the past. There's having creative, positive visualization. One of the present moment ways is to tap into your gut instinct or your intuition. And so when Traycee, when you share, oh, I paused and I noticed this horseshoe and I sat with what was coming up for me and what does that mean? I think that's a nice illustrative story for all of us it's a call for all of us to pause and notice the signs because there are signs all around us. but we move so fast through the day, we breeze right by them. And then we sit and we're like, I need a sign, or or we get so busy, or we're like, just something needs to change, or I'm not happy, or that's my lesson today. I mean, I've been moving pretty fast this summer, and if we're not taking these moments to pause and to sit with ourselves, go inside, I think we're really missing out on the universe whispering messages to us. And so for the Leader Paths Oracle deck, this is a really cool deck for leaders to use in the workplace, because you could just have it on your desk with you before you start work. You could actually use this to close your eyes, pull a message. Let's say you're feeling really anxious at work, or you're feeling upset and you just want some sort of emotional management strategy to utilize. These are great because you can pull a card and get a message and then sit with it and sort of like see what's coming up for you. You can use it in employee one-on-ones and team one-on-ones. There's so many different creative ways you could use the deck. Tell me how you use it with your private clients.
Oh, my goodness. How I use it is usually towards the end of our session. If we feel like we've accomplished what we are working on, I ask if they would like me to pull a card. And of course, I have your deck too, so they get to choose. And when it's my deck, I pull a card. And basically what I do is I don't just pull a card. I would say I shuffle them, and I'll show you how I do that. So I actually take the full deck and I shuffle them. And usually, as you just saw, there's 2 cards that just flew out. Oops, there's 3. So whatever flies out is what's meant to be. And there's a couple more that flew out.
In my tarot card training, they call those jumpers from the universe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 4 here, and I'll read them and then I'll turn them around and show them. So number 61, serene, tranquil hearts and minds intersect this quiet place. Look through the trees. And this one I just absolutely love too. Number 38, joyful, smiling and laughing and enjoying the journey, charming childlike joys. So what happens is I will take a picture of this, we'll have a conversation about it, and then I always send it to my client immediately following the session. And usually during the week, they'll text me back and go, oh my gosh, this card said this and said that. And always 100% of the time, they tell me, Traycee, those were perfect for me. And I trust the deck and I trust the universe that the right message is going to be given. I use it also in group coaching. I just had a keynote group coaching last week, and I put a deck on each table. There was 8 tables. And so I put a deck on each of the tables, and these were groups of people who they mixed up. So they try to get new people to work, that normally maybe don't work together, but this was the entire company. And there was 3 different times during the session where I asked them to pass around the deck and pull a card for each of them and share what the card meant to them in the context of customer service and how they relate to providing great service for their customers. So absolutely, it's not just about the experience I had or what I was feeling, but it's like I want others to feel too the message that they're supposed to have for their fellow coworkers, for the clients that they're working for. My 40 plus years has been in leadership. So I'm always looking for signs through people I work with, through keynotes and group coaching that I do. And one final thing I have to say is that I also write about that idea in my book. I write about that there are messages everywhere, and particularly in the workplace. There are messages that are often from our employees or our coworkers. We are so busy doing our own thing and paying attention to our own stuff, and we wonder why people are not connected. It's because we're not listening. So when we take the time to listen, so I've learned to do that in an environment with other people and also when I'm solo, but often the single thing that you were thinking about and wanting an answer to, or wondering how to solve a problem, you could have a coworker walk by and say something to you, and that's exactly the answer you were looking for, or vice versa.
Yeah, that's great. Great reminder for all of us. And also, you have been taking leaders on hikes with the deck as well, which has sounded really cool and really fun. And I just want to mention that too. So the point of all of this for me and for sharing this with the Create Magic at Work audience is I'm hoping that everyone listening kind of uses this as a jumping off point for their own creativity and what they can do in the workplace. Get a copy of the leader paths and use it in a way that connects each other to solve a problem or to bring people together and have more effective communication, et cetera, et cetera. If there was one wish that you had for the leader paths in ways that people would use the deck, what would that be?
One way would definitely be to pull a card or see which ones fly out of the deck and contemplate what that means to you and how might that be a reflection of where you're at in life currently. I also write in one of the instruction cards that you can pull 3, which represent past, present, future. So it'll help kind of guide you to where you're headed. There are so many ways to use them, and I guess my biggest goal is that people use them, that they buy them and enjoy the photography, because the photography is gorgeous, and share it with friends, because it's actually fun. Doing the group outdoor experience, what I call it, has helped other people bond. I bring people together that have never met each other also on those outdoor experience hikes. And I have them draw up a couple of cards and they pair up with people they've never met and just talk about their life experience or talk about things they want to talk about with someone who's a complete stranger, but also has their confidence. And they use these cards to kind of break the ice and to give them, I think, permission to talk about stuff that's hard, because they're outside, they're in a beautiful environment hiking, and they're with a complete stranger who will not, violate their confidence. So there's so many ways, and it's so rich with energy that can be used. Yeah.
Yeah. I have one more thought that I want to share. You kicked us off pulling a card, and I'm going to close us out pulling a card from your deck. But I want to say, men, I have used these types of tools with men in the workplace. The impact is very profound. Of course, it is for everyone. But if you're a man listening, I think it's important to explore this. Get a copy of the leader paths. This isn't just for women. I was on the diversity council like 6 years ago at my old company, and we had a huge event, and I was at like a brewery mixer thing for it. It was a super, I think it was like beer and golf. I don't know. It was definitely something there were a lot of men at. And when they came in and were pulling the cards, it stopped them in their tracks. And just like in front of me in this public place, it was like chills, tears coming up in people's eyes. And that is because a lot of these spaces, we don't feel like we have permission to be who we are or to open ourselves up for the magic that's there. And I just think it's really important that anybody listening, especially men who feel closed off to their emotions, take a risk and have courage, which is what your latest talk was. We haven't even gotten to that, where you just spoke on the win stage talking about courage, which we'll share the link to that in the chat, and had an amazing, amazing keynote. But it starts with us all taking a small step of courage in trying this. We've only got one shot here in this body, in this life. And so why not? Why not bring some magic to each other? Why not try? Maybe you're going to get a message that knocks your socks off and changes the whole trajectory of the path that you're walking, depending on what comes up. So those are all my thoughts coming up. Do you want to share anything on that?
The company that I coached, a corporation I coached last week in person, there was about 50 folks in the room, 50, 60, and more than half were men. And there was no resistance whatsoever to engaging when people were pulling cards and sharing with each other about how that that related to improving the service levels at the company and working together as great team members. I mean, they were just excited and totally into it. So we both have brought up that word permission. And so maybe that's what the cards do is it's just, it's not about just starting cold and saying, I feel like this or I feel like that. It's using the card as saying, oh, this is what it says. And this is what I think about that. And so it's a great tool to get everybody talking. And absolutely it's for everybody.
Yeah. Like what's coming up for me when I pull this card. And for Create Magic at Work, I was just out at a dinner last week and I constantly have people, mostly women, I think all women, tell me, I wish my boss knew about your company. I would have reviews on the book saying, I'm going to leave this on my boss's desk. And it's mostly women. So women are bringing this magic to the workplace. When I brought that up before, it's kind of like my call for others to be open to it, because let people be open to this when people are bringing it in, because it really can transform your team. It can heal really burnout, increase productivity, increase profitability, have cross communication between different departments, like the magic of like a card deck called the Leader Paths with photography and a beautiful message can literally ripple out in that way. It's just so amazing to see. And we can't do it all ourselves. So we love to hear stories of other people using it. I mean, that's my favorite thing is to hear different stories of, I pulled this card for my team or we did this activity. I mean, that's incredible because that means we're all doing this work together. So I'm going to pull a card for everyone from the Leader Paths. See what we get. Oh my gosh. So we started off with Enchanted and I'm ending us with Harmonious. And it's a photo of a hallway at a window full of, it looks like holiday lights. And the number on the card, if people are into numbers, is 34, Harmonious. So our message closing out the conversation today is beautiful and glorious journey with sights and sounds in sync. Beautiful and glorious journey with sights and sounds in sync. Harmonious, number 34. Traycee, any other insights for us on this card and the photo?
Well, I'm not going to say where it's at because I want to keep that a mystery for future, but I will tell you that the lights actually twinkle and it's almost like a musical instrument playing. The lights go off and on as you progress down this pathway, and there's soft music in the background. And I almost always end up on this little pathway by myself. And it's just stunning to see the lights, particularly at night, as they kind of transform from one color to another as it's moving. And then the music in the background, there is this sense of harmony and transformation and a moment of peace and kind of thoughtfulness.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the messages that we've pulled today? Because I'm selfishly asking because I have felt like this summer has been hot, heavy energetically, not a lot of playfulness for me anyway. And all of a sudden we show up today and we pull Enchanted and Harmonious. And I'm like, okay.
I think it's up to us to let go, to let go of the coldness and the hardness and the suffering that we each do, I mean, like we can cause our own suffering sometimes of just looking at all of the negative energy and stuff that's going on that, we don't like, or it just is uncomfortable. And we could just turn that around by going, you know what, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to let all of my attention focus on the stuff that's hard. To say to you, yes, I agree. It's been hard. It's been a really difficult, even for me personally, with my family over the last couple of months. So to be able to talk about these cards today, Enchanted and Harmonious, is so positive. And you do have a choice. So I'm going to choose to lean into Enchanted and Harmonious today, regardless of the amount of weight that I'm carrying on my shoulders with some stuff going on. And I'm going to choose. I'm going to courageously choose to move forward in that positive aspect.
What are some things that we can do that help us feel like we're choosing without feeling like we're bypassing
For me, it helps when I go take a walk, even if it's for 5 minutes, get some fresh air, take a couple of deep breaths, give myself 5 minutes, give myself 10 minutes. It's not even needs to be more than 10 minutes of breathing in these thoughts of positivity. It feels somehow our physiological senses are more able to absorb that positiveness and realize that we are choosing it versus bypassing the negativity, if that makes sense to you. Get some fresh air in your lungs, get a few minutes with that thought.
Yeah, shifting what we're focusing on, acknowledging, inhaling love, exhaling negativity, inhaling confidence, exhaling doubt, inhaling beauty. I mean, just making up these words, like letting go of the other. And for me personally, just really getting back to a routine of being in the enchanted and in the harmonious feels important, because I feel like my attention has been on other things, and I'd like to move my attention to, I think that's a call for all of us. Let's move our attention to the enchanted and the harmonious. And I think that's a great way to end with this message.
I'm thinking about these cards when we pull them when we're doing the outdoor experience with, one that I did several months ago. I think it was January. We were outside here in Wisconsin by one of the large lakes. The lake still had ice on it. It was really cold. We didn't think about that it was cold. We thought about how magical and wonderful it was to take deep breaths of fresh air and think about the cards that we had pulled and the messages that it was sharing with us. So you're absolutely right. Breathing in the positivity and breathing out, it's easy to do once you kind of make that part of your daily practice. And it's not a girl thing. It's not a guy thing. It's a human thing.
I love that. A human thing. Yeah. Traycee, so for people to get a copy of the Leader Paths Oracle deck, where can they go?
Yeah, absolutely. Go to my website, BU Leadership, and it's BEYOU leadership.com. And there's a place in there where you can order the deck, and I'll even sign it for you and send it off to you. And there's also a place you can order my book on there, and even set a 30-minute free consultation with me where we can chat about it further, either the book or the deck or coaching or anything. I'm all about people.
I love the box of the Leader Paths because I know personally that it's your boots that you left in the square at the end of the Camino walk in Spain. And I know you mentioned that walk in the beginning. For people that don't know, it's a walk that a lot of people take, and a lot of people feel like it's a spiritual experience going on this walk. So check that out if you're interested. But just to have a copy of all this gorgeous photography of all of these paths and use it to inspire yourself to be enchanted and harmonious in your day, I think is incredible. So we will have all of those links in the show notes. And to the Create Magic at Work community, thank you for tuning in today to this special edition episode on the Leader Paths Oracle deck. And Traycee, thank you for being a cherished returning guest on the show. For those of you that want to hear more from Traycee, we had a wildly popular episode that we just did recently called Solving Your Workplace Challenges, where we had real questions come in from people in the workplace and we answered them on the fly for you, Traycee and I. We'll drop that link in there in the show notes as well. So Traycee, thank you so much for being a guest again on Create Magic at Work.
Thank you, Amy. It was awesome. Thank you.
I want to thank each and every one of you for coming back every week to listen to a new episode of Create Magic at Work and really helping to support and advocate for healthy leaders, workplaces, and lives for all of us. If you want any information on how to connect with me, click on the link in the show notes. You'll get access to all of the social media links for Create Magic at Work. Stay following along for more amazing episodes where we help you improve productivity and profitability in the workplace and decrease stress. Sending magic to everyone, and see you next time.